Hi, and welcome to Z Games. Recorded live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane and broadcast nationally over the Community Radio Network, Z Games brings you the latest gaming news, reviews and interviews from across Australia and around the world.
Produced live at 4ZZZ Studios in Brisbane. You might be listening to us on 102.1 FM or around the country on the Community Radio Network. You're listening to Z Games. My name's Jack, and I'm here in the studio with Ray.
Hey.
How you going, man?
Very well, thank you.
And Adrian.
It's your boy.
We're all your boy.
Yeah.
Three boys.
Three boys.
In the house.
A singular boy. Us collectively.
When combined,
is how
we
that
become
works.
the Z Games boy.
Oh, goodness. Coming up very soon, I've got a preview of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, and you have
Mario
been playing
Tennis.
Mario Tennis.
Aces.
Why can't Camelot just go back to making Golden Sun games and not make Mario Tennis?
Hey, this Mario Tennis game's got some adventuring in it. It's got some
Nice.
role playing.
I want a Golden Sun on Switch. Where
Too
is
bad.
it?
Too bad, Jack.
That's unrelated. Let's put the focus on Mario Tennis where it deserves.
Or we could
Thank you.
we could talk about Golden Sun.
No.
No.
Did you not play Golden Sun?
I did.
Wow. I'm heartbroken.
Okay.
Let's go into the news.
Wah, wah, wah.
My goodness. What has been making headlines, Adrian?
The Australian Classification Board has initiated a plan to modernise the classification code as it applies to video games, according to a statement issued to Kotaku. The Department of Communications and the Arts will reportedly consult with the states and territories as well as stakeholders and community organisations as part of the process. Before any changes to the classification code can be made, all of the relevant classification ministers must be in agreement. The statement follows the Classification Board's reversal of its decision to ban We Happy Few after inviting public submissions.
Okay, so just a little bit of backstory. We Happy Few was refused classification by ACV. They then reviewed that classification and then gave it an R18, I believe. Have they cited a reason for that, to your recollection?
No, but it seems that they considered the context upon which the infringing...
2018.
Yeah.
They considered it's 2018.
Well, not... Yeah. Well, pretty
I mean,
much.
the context argument has always been, ever since the big, ever since we didn't even have an R18 rating for video games back when Left 4 Dead 2 was
the days of Left 4 Dead
big thing, and that was censored. The whole consideration of games in context of the fact that you're controlling them, having thus, there being the argument that they're more impactful on the audience because you can control it. I think that's kind of a bit of a grey area. And so obviously with We Happy Few, there are a lot of public submissions and a lot of consideration as to, why that game was refused classification compared to, a movie that would have similar content and even though it's passive, still get through.
Yes.
And yeah, that's rough.
So two of the big kind of flags that the classification board uses in its decision whether or not to let a game through at R18 plus or to ban it outright is firstly sexual violence and secondly incentivized drug use.
Drug use is always,
And so We Happy Few has a mechanic, or its whole central premise is based around using these performance-enhancing drugs, and the player's decision whether or not to use them affects their gameplay, and it is making a larger comment there. It's not just drugs are good or something like that. It's actually part of a big commentary. And so that hasn't really been taken into account in the classification code's previous decisions.
Right.
But it appears as though the context upon which these things might be looked upon, like the context in which the infringing articles are used, is a determining factor in their decision now, which is good.
And this incentivized drug use in game thing has been an issue, so much so that I believe Fallout 3
changed morphine.
Changed worldwide. I believe, initially, the stim packs and the other items that you used in game were actually named after real life drugs.
Yeah,
and then they were changed to fake names, and I believe that had impacts on the worldwide release. I might be wrong in that, but I believe it did, or at least it did in Australia. And
there was also Saints Row 4 when there were quite a few. There was a lot of back and forth about a weapon that looked like a very large dildo bat. That was kind of what a lot of people were like, oh, this is probably the reason as far as sexual violence goes. This might have been why this was refused classification. It came out that actually made it into the game, and it was a lot of the drug related, rewarding, but a lot of that commentary that actually prevented it from being classified in the first place. So, modernize Look, at this point, the only point of concern I have is that they don't talk to the right people, and I don't know who that would be. If they actually go out, if ACB or the Department of Communications and the Arts reaches out to industry, like Game Developers Association of Australia, all of the independent game developers of Australia associations in Brisbane and Sydney and Melbourne and Adelaide and all the rest of it, if they speak to the right people, this can only end well. The only problem comes with if they speak to the wrong people, or they just don't. Yeah, that's the main concern in my mind.
It's true. Although it does appear, based upon what the information that we have here, is that they're looking at making it more lenient as opposed to more strict, which you might think would happen if they spoke to the wrong people, like the religious people or the conservatives.
Channel 9, yeah. So yeah, I feel like that's the worst case scenario. But well, I guess for now, all we can do is wait and see.
Blizzard has this week revealed that $12.7 million was raised by Overwatch players as part of a charity campaign for the Breast Cancer Research Foundation. The funds were raised through the sale of a limited edition pink skin for Mercy, the game's angelic healer. According to the BCRF, the donation was the single largest made by a company in the foundation's 25-year history. That's $12.7 million.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All about it.
It's a really good idea to raise money for charity. Like, just make a digital item that everyone wants. And
people are buying them anyway.
Blizzard's great at that, and they've been doing that for years with this World of Warcraft in-game pets, which people just absolutely lap up. And, with each of those purchases, you see a significant amount contributed to charities. So it's fantastic to see, a company as big as Blizzard, obviously attached to Activision, championing, a good cause and really showing that, for as much bad rap as games can sometimes get in the press for silly reasons, this really shows a positive spin on the industry.
And it doesn't hurt that skin, the pink one, is probably Mercy's best skin in the game.
Incorrect.
What? You disagree?
I disagree.
The witch one is cool.
I think.
What's your favorite thing?
I'm not so much a fan of the witch one. I think that the like the Viking style ones.
Oh, okay.
I like those ones.
No, we got different tastes.
Oh, wow,
man.
really?
Yeah, no.
I'm staying out of this one.
I don't know, man. Adrian, where do you feel? What is your favorite Mercy
I think
skin?
there are a lot of great Overwatch skins.
What's your favorite Mercy skin?
Probably the Halloween one, let's be real.
The witch. It's always the witch.
Is cool.
Thirsty
I like
boys.
OG Mercy.
Thirsty boys are going to be
play
thirsty,
that card, sure.
Honestly. Like, we'll say it's not a bad skin. But yeah, that's awesome. Like, charity events like that, like Summer Games Done Quick that's recently just passed as well, raising money for cancer research. I think it's Doctors Without Borders actually for summer, but it's always good to see this kind of stuff happening. Gives us like more of a reassurance, like not everything's just turning to hell in the wake of Fortnite is ruining everyone's lives.
Fortnite fears.
You're listening to Zed Games, and I had a Wii U. I was one of the 4 people on the planet that had a Wii U, but I missed out on a few games. I was really into Splatoon. I was really into Wind Waker, but I missed a few. I missed out on Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and I missed out on one other game that fortunately I've been able to play a little bit of over the last few days. Captain Toad Treasure Tracker is a cutesy little puzzle platformer game. Puzzle platformer, I guess, is a good way to describe
For sure.
what it is.
Yeah.
In front of me, I've got Adrian and Ray playing it and both looking very, very confused.
I accidentally just killed Ray.
So, on the Wii U, it was a single-player experience. You played as Toad or played as Toadette, and you were getting through these tiny little sort of small kind of garden box.
Cubic, like, worlds.
There's like a particular kind of phrase that I'm trying to think of, but
isometric. No, I don't know. Geometric.
303 ISO. Geo?
It is like a box of a world that you can spin.
It's a boxed garden.
Yeah,
it's a walled garden. No, yeah. But it's these really small worlds, and you are trying to get through them, pick up the star as you would in most Mario games. The difference is when you're playing as Captain Toad or Toadette, you can't jump. You can't attack. You can't really do a whole lot. You just, for the most part, walk around and press buttons, interact with the world, pick up little bits of little turnips and throw it at enemies if you're lucky, if there's a turnip around. So it was a single-player experience, and for the most part, it's pretty easy going. Would you guys agree? It's kind of chill. It's a chill-ish experience.
I think it's chill because you're not just focused on the action-oriented platforming. You've got that puzzle.
You can take
solving.
your time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can kind of walk around, have a bit of a stroll, find the. It's all about finding the secrets that are hidden in the nooks and crannies, as opposed to going through a linear level.
Yes.
So it's more oriented towards people who do enjoy collecting all of the little bits and pieces.
That's the thing. So, like, you'll have the start at the end of, like, that's how you complete a course. But then throughout the level, if you poke around into all of the nooks and crannies, you will find hopefully three gems in that level. They're usually pretty well hidden towards the end of the game, or towards the latter parts of the game. And you guys did you just die?
Yeah.
Yep. Ray's not having a good time with the bullet bills.
Do you want to swap?
Nah, it's all good.
You should.
Yeah, I want to be.
You don't want to give up the one player. I'll talk to that in a sec. But yeah, you're trying to get the star. You're trying to get all of the gems hidden around in all the nooks and crannies, and then sometimes you'll come across a gold mushroom. Sometimes levels will have extra sort of bonus objectives like don't get damaged, only interact with the stage, like touching the stage to move elements a set number of times, get through it in only a certain amount of time. All of that was single player up until now. On Switch, and it's being re-released on both Switch and 3DS. As far as the Switch version, you now have a 2-player version, and I actually have not yet played that 2-player version. Walk me through what the 2-player version feels like, guys.
Okay, so I'm controlling Toad.
Yes.
And I'm Oh, go on.
Oh, yes, and it seems like all I'm doing is sort of walking around.
Yes.
I can control the camera, I can rotate the level so I can see where Toad is if he gets behind a corner, but I'm basically just walking, and I have to avoid bullets sometimes, really slow-moving bullet obills or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Enemies, yes.
Yep.
And Adrian's doing something else.
I can also control the camera, which is great fun. We're basically fighting each other for that. But I'm actually a pointing device. So I'm not actually in the game world, but I have an overview of what's going on, and I can throw turnips at the bullet bills that keep assailing Ray. Obviously, my turnip throwing skills aren't that great because he keeps dying anyway. And I can help trigger some of the game's platforming pieces to help him traverse across the environments as well. So taking more of an assistant role, but still feeling quite involved in the gameplay.
Yeah, well, I don't feel like I have the most agency here. I feel like you're the one who's doing the real gameplaying.
Here's the thing.
Really?
That's all, like, what you're doing is, for the most part, all you can do in single player anyway. You don't have, like, there's no way for you to just, like, shoot turnips in single player. That's not a thing. You have more ability than I do in the single player right now.
So this is more of the 2-player mode's more of an assistive mode, I guess, great for families,
It's like the Mario Galaxy, like, picking up the star bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're playing with your kid or something like that, you can kind of help out as they take control of the main character.
Yeah. So you right now don't feel like you have a whole lot of control or a whole lot of reason to be involved.
No, it is important to get Toad out of the way of those bullets.
Yes, it is important.
And timing is critical. But, like, Adrian's triggering, all of the platforms that are moving and stuff.
And everything.
I'm being a little bit mischievous.
And you're also able to combat the enemies.
You can actually attack them.
You can interact with the enemies, whereas I just have to hide from them.
Yes.
So in the single player mode, you're very much in the same kind of position. If you have, because I imagine there are like plants that you can pull out of the ground at some point in the level. Maybe,
that's right.
Maybe not this one. But in some levels, you'll be able to pull out turnips, sometimes coins. Sometimes you'll get like the pickaxe. It's not a pickaxe. It's like it's a pickaxe looking thing, and it's basically invincibility mode, but you can just blast through stuff.
It might be a hammer.
It looks like a pickaxe in this
like
game, but it's like the hammer from classic Mario.
Yeah. So I know what you mean now. So it's kind of like that. And so you don't really, like, you're never on the offensive. Like, the point of the game is never to be, it's not combat focused. And I'm not saying Mario's combat focused, but I feel like it's an integral part of the experience there. When trying to interact with the enemies, you'll have boss levels or whatever else. Even in boss levels in the game, and you've played the demo where that boss level's there, you're not interacting with the boss.
That's right. You're defeating the boss through platforming.
Yeah.
And through figuring out the best way to get through that platform experience without getting attacked by the boss. I'd say this game is all about avoidance. It's not about going towards combat. It's about
being strategic.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because as Toad, you're kind of a bit defenseless.
Yes.
You're not Mario.
He's bloody useless, isn't he?
He's Toad. Toad is the royal servant. Toads are the ones that are used to being the stewards and the stewardesses of the royal kingdom.
Okay. I agree. So, Jack, set me up for the story of this game, which is important. What is Toad doing? Why is he on this adventure by himself?
So, you will, at the beginning of the game, you get dropped into the world. You're playing as Toad. You have Toadette with you, and I believe in this world, this level that you're playing right now, guys, you're playing as Toadette, actually.
That's right.
Okay.
And you end up going through a stage, getting a star, yay, course clear. And then this bird comes through and kidnaps Toadette. And you are on a journey to rescue Toadette. So
it's exactly the same as the Mario Brothers storyline, except
yes. Well, that's chapter 1. Chapter 2, you play as Toadette, and Toad gets kidnapped. There's other chapters in the game as well. I believe there's at least a chapter 3, and there are actually Super Mario Odyssey themed levels in the game as well. To my understanding, they're much later in the game. So I've only played through the first 2 chapters so far, as far as like a preview goes. So I haven't quite gotten to that stuff yet. But having Super Mario Odyssey themed anything is good, because who doesn't like Super Mario Odyssey?
It's a great game.
It's awesome.
The one thing that you won't get in this version, that was in the Wii U version, is Super Mario 3D World levels. Super Mario 3D World themed levels.
Why? Why not?
So the reason they were removed was apparently so that you could put in Super Mario Odyssey levels. The thing is, the 3D World levels weren't like puzzle platforming levels. They were just like, it was like a cute bonus thing that you could jump into and explore these 3D World levels if you had a 3D World save on your Wii U. So there wasn't really a whole lot of reason for them to be there in the first place. The other thing that the Switch doesn't have is a second screen. So that's obviously not a problem on the 3DS re-release. You'll have parts of a level you can interact with the touchscreen or interact with, you'll have one view on top screen or one view on bottom screen, very much like the Wii U version. On Switch, a lot of that stuff is kind of offset onto the Joy-Cons. So Adrian, you have a pointing device there, and you can sort of interact with enemies in that kind of way. In the single-player version, you can do the same thing, but you won't be able to throw turnips. You can just sort of stun enemies. It's a little bit less involved. And when you are on like a minecart stage, for example, where it's basically a first-person shooter, you're just going through this on-rails segment, and all you have is turnips, and you just have just turnips everywhere.
Turnip machine.
You don't have
turnip for what?
Get out. You don't have the sort of second like perspective of seeing like the bigger world. It's just what you see in first person, which isn't a bad thing. When you're playing in portable mode, you can interact with the world via the touchscreen, which works really, really well. In TV mode, it felt a little bit weird, I will say, a little bit. So you guys aren't really doing that well.
We tried.
Oh, we made progress.
You did.
We got further.
Did you finish the stage?
The bullet bills, no. We're still on the one stage. But so we're trying to speak to what this game's all about. Ray and I, as Jack's been speaking, have been trying to solve this one stage by essentially finding out where to go. And because this game has so many intricate little holes and nooks and crannies you can go into, it's all about kind of... It's almost like a Rubik's Cube of a platformer.
You've constantly got to move around, look around, reassess, And
you're trying to figure out where to go and what holes lead where, and, you know, it's almost like a maze at some times.
It is.
At some points.
It is very labyrinthian.
So we couldn't make it to the end, but we almost got there, and, you know, Ray's kind of stroking his beard in disappointment and pondering how it all went wrong. But it was good fun. I've been genuinely smiling.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say is, you guys can agree, it's visually so good.
It's beautiful.
It looks so pretty. The music is incredibly upbeat. Well, I mean, the music's diverse in that it can range from as upbeat as the track that I played earlier to like really beautifully like atmospheric kind of stages, not too dissimilar like from the Mario 64 remix that I played earlier. Like it has that same kind of vibe in making you feel like you just kind of take like volume down like 30 steps and it's just like, let's just chill out.
That's it.
And it's nice that it can change gears to that extent, because I feel like with Super Mario Odyssey, a game that also you could go to a single level, it would have like one sort of mechanic, and you feel like you can spin an entire game out of that one mechanic. A lot of Nintendo games do that. It constantly is changing from level to level, and it can shift gears, and it never feels boring. And I love that. I love that a lot.
I imagine that this game would get very difficult later on. Is this an early level?
No. So this is like middle-ish to my understanding.
Okay.
This is chapter 2. It's not
it's
early.
not super hard, but I can imagine that it
can be a bit finicky.
They can do things that are tricky later on.
Well, I mean, it's more a matter of if you're trying to 100%, like be that completionist.
Oh, yes.
Then it gets really punishing.
I really
quickly.
feel sorry for those people. Because it must be hard. No. I mean, like,
right.
You can play a game however you want. Don't take my judgment on board, please. But, it must be frustrating having a game presented to you and being like, oh, God, I've got to do everything in here. Especially in a game like this that is going to take a lot of time to beat.
Yeah, it can be quite involved because you'll have the 3 gems in each stage. You'll have the star in each stage. You'll have a bonus objective. You'll have time trials. You'll have coin trials. You will have like an extra thing that you've got to try and like a find and seek mechanic. for every single level in the game. So if you're content hungry, awesome. If you want to play a game that is just really upbeat, but also feels like it's got some meat to it. The one concern that we had, well, I had a few concerns with Kirby, was that you get in and it's your eyes twitching. You're like, why did I get that game? It's very, very upbeat, but it also kind of fell flat in terms of the meat on the bone. Like, where's that gameplay at?
Captain Toad is really meaty in that, you can, like you said, you can go in and be that completionist if you really want to try. And it's going to be challenging because, I consider myself a bit of a completionist when I want to be.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, right. And there are levels where I genuinely thought I was collecting everything and I missed stuff. Yep. And, that's a good, that's a testament to the fact that even in an early level, this game is quite puzzling, and that's a really good thing because you're playing these bite-sized levels and they're highly replayable.
It's also very good for a portable game, I will say.
Yeah, and you don't have to collect the stuff. If you don't, you still feel accomplished for finishing the levels.
There's some points where you need a certain number of gems, so it's not like just leave the gems like lying on the table. Get them as you go, but don't feel super panicked if you're not like, I haven't gotten the 3 in every single level. There have been levels where I've gotten 1 or 2. It's totally fine, and it's still really, really fun.
And Mario Odyssey was great at that too. You don't need all of the stars. Just all the moons,
rather.
All
the moons, yeah.
Yeah.
Or the stars.
Sure.
In that 64. Anyway, that is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker, coming out on July 13th on Switch and 3DS. I'm enjoying it. I'm going to keep enjoying it. This isn't a full review, but I'm still working my way through the game, and it's been good fun. You guys, for the most part, kind of agree?
I'm loving it.
Yeah. That was a great preview, Jack.
Great, thank you so much. It was great to preview it.
You are listening to Zed Games, and I have been playing some Mario Tennis Aces on Nintendo Switch.
I'm so proud of that intro.
Now let me tell you. Mario Tennis Aces is a pretty ace game, and it's only deserving that it has such a bombastic intro provided to it. With that beautiful soundtrack that is reminiscent to basically all of the Mario Tennis games that have come out over the years. Mario Tennis is known for a few things. First of all, it's known for being the series that introduced the best Nintendo character out there, Waluigi.
Okay, fair.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'll give it that.
There you go. There's your hot Nintendo fact of the evening.
Bring Waluigi to Switch. To Smash on
sure.
Switch.
Yeah, assist trophy for you only. Second of all, this is a series that started out with party-style, gameplay offline on the Nintendo 64. Then kind of moved over to the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance, where we saw some more RPG mechanics in the similar vein of the developer Camelot's RPG series.
Best things that it's ever made, Golden Sun.
Golden Sun. And there was a fully fleshed RPG campaign where you played as these characters that were essentially avatars of yourself and not Nintendo characters. And then they went and made, a couple more console games that didn't have those RPG mechanics, and the fans have been asking for those ever since. And cue Mario Tennis Aces. We have a Mario Tennis game on a Nintendo console that has a campaign. This time around, you're playing as Mario, though, and it's not a campaign where you can kind of walk around the world, and it's not like an open world like you might be used to in RPGs. It is a set, world where you're on a set track, and you have a few beaten paths that you can go off to and do different things in. But hey, it's got that great sort of Nintendo charm to it. The writing is fantastic. You're interacting with all of the Mushroom Kingdom characters and for some reason challenging all of them to tennis fights because that's the only way to solve issues in this world. And
it's better than the real world.
Man, if only you could solve all issues with a good bout of tennis. Let me tell you. It's a slamming good time, I'll tell you that. And, when you're done with the single player content, you've got fantastic online multiplayer, you've got fantastic local multiplayer, and this is probably one of the most well-rounded Mario Tennis games I've played in a long, long time. So let me get straight off the bat and jump into the single-player campaign a little bit more, because that is something that is definitely quite different from previous iterations. So like I said, you're playing as Mario. You're going through this very diverse island with a bunch of different regions. You've got a snowy region, you've got a sand region, you've got a jungle region.
So mysterious.
Oh, it's like the best of Mario regions, And you're on a quest that's actually quite important. You've got this character who's really trying to threaten the Mushroom Kingdom, and you've got to collect these Power Stones to stop this from happening. It's quite reminiscent of a recent film that hit cinemas with a certain character called Thanos. In fact, a little bit too strikingly similar. But with a tennis spin. So that was interesting. I'm not sure if that was intentional.
The Infinity War of video games.
Basically. I mean, look, these Power Stones are kind of MacGuffins. They're there to move the story forward. The game makes no qualms about that. If you're looking for a really, really in-depth story, you're not going to find that here, but that's cool because this is a light-hearted, fun story. You're Mario, you've got Toad by your side, and you're kind of going along, fighting all these different, unique villains. At one point I had a tennis match with a mirror. At one point I had a tennis match with Petey Piranha. The list goes on. You're collecting new rackets as you go. You're, getting involved in various different...
Sorry, collecting rackets. Do they give you different powers? Or do they...
They have different stats. So you've got different stats in this game. So as you go, Mario levels up, and, you can increase your speed on the court. You can increase all sorts of different things that will affect how you play.
Right.
Essentially make you more powerful as the game goes on. And you're going to need that because it does get quite challenging. And to come with that challenge, this game has introduced probably my favorite suite of mechanics to a Mario Tennis game in the form of the new power shots. You got the zone shot, which actually allows you to, when you build up enough power meter, control exactly where your tennis shot is going to hit on the court. Which
is that an I win button, or it's not an I win button because you have to wait for your thing to charge up, so you can only do it every.
But even then, that's where I present to you the counter shot. So in this game, Mario Tennis Aces is almost like a fighting game at certain points, because you're building up your power meters, and there's an ebb and flow to that. And your power meter can be used for offensive purposes, such as with the zone shot, or with your ultimate shot when you build that up far enough. But on the flip side, at any point during the match, you can actually hold down the trigger button to go into slow motion. And that slow motion allows you to react much better to other players who are using their zone shots or their ultimate shots.
Right, okay.
And so in doing so, you're encouraged to, pace yourself during the match. Make sure you've got enough meter built up so you can use that slow-mo if you want to, but also have some saved up for those offensive moments, if you want to ace the opponent or you want to deliver a winning shot. And that makes this perhaps... Thank you for your
Yeah. Intrigued.
It sounds mechanically very balanced. As all things should be.
Absolutely. This is a Mario Tennis game where like strategy is definitely one of the most important elements. I mean, it's there on the box. Literally, it says that one of the first lines on the box is a Mario Tennis game where strategy is the winning element.
I recall you making a joke about that. It's like, thank God, finally a Nintendo game where you need to put in strategy.
It's absolutely awesome. Like, it's really nice to like be able to go online and compete with other players in what feels like a really strategically focused game where there's not, randomized items like in Mario Kart. And I really enjoy that. That's really fun. I've stayed up till 1:30 a.m. trying to win these tournaments that are in the game, and it's really, really, really challenging.
I present to you the player who always enables assist mode. Why should I play Mario Tennis?
Because there's something there for you still.
But is it if it's overly challenging, like is it particularly frustrating? Is that usually...
Only if you jump online and you really want to do well.
Right, okay.
As most things are, especially when it comes to even fighting games, and especially, this title is a sports game with some sort of fighting game flair to it, in that strategy that you need to implement. There's going to be that frustration. You're going to encounter players that are just way better than you. And I think this game kind of does well in having the mantra of easy to learn but hard to master. If you go in on the surface, it feels like it's quite simple, but as you get into the different shot types and the different special shots you can do and the special counters that you can do, you realize that things are quite complex. But if you're just sticking to the main story, you're going to be fine. There's even a swing mode in the game where you can use motion controls only in that mode to play locally.
So, sorry, motion controls can't be used for the entirety of the game?
No.
That's fascinating.
Because the way the game is mechanically is not conducive to the motion controls. Yeah. So what they've done is they've made this swing mode quite similar to the Wii Sports tennis game.
Yes.
In that the characters will move... The characters will move with free will,
right?
And you'll swing, and they'll come closer to the ball. It's interesting with a Mario Tennis game because Mario Tennis games have that power mechanic where you can build up power for a shot before the ball hits you. In swing mode, you can still do that, but you're kind of like amping up your swing. You're kind of holding your Joy-Con by your side, getting ready to do it, and the timing is what's important here.
So I feel like that's like the party mode, right?
It's definitely the party mode, and like unlike the main mode, it's where it's really hard to get the ball out. In swing mode, it's really easy to get the ball out.
Thank God.
So that's really good fun, and you can even challenge in a first for the series. You can challenge shots. So if you ever watch, if you watch tennis on TV, there's the moment where the player challenges the shot and the crowd goes wild and starts clapping, and there's that here. So it's definitely the party mode if you want to play with motion controls. There's that option.
Yeah,
which I appreciate. That.
I love that you perked up because I have no idea what real sport is.
Oh.
Let me tell you,
wow.
Mario Tennis Aces has got it for you.
Don't you know where you are and what night it is, Jack? You don't. You really don't.
Oh, is it? No, I don't want to say it.
Don't worry about it.
It starts with an O.
It's not Origin. I don't want to think about Origin.
Yeah. Okay.
I tell you what, though, fun story. Mario Tennis is actually the series that got me into sport. It got me into tennis because I didn't understand the barrier of entry to sport, or at least tennis for me, was the scoring system. Because I had no idea how it worked.
Yeah, what the hell's going on?
Why is there love? Why is love a score?
Why is it 15, 30, 40?
Yeah.
That's the big thing. From 15 to 30, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but then 30 to 40.
It's like, why?
And then suddenly, if you're both on 40, it's a deuce. Like, yeah. So, it's fun to return to a series that kind of made me actually appreciate sport.
That's really interesting because, the thing that got me into tennis was, I think it was Sonic Tennis on the Game Gear.
Oh, heck yeah.
Oh, my God. What?
They were on the Game Gear. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't Sonic Tennis. Maybe it was just some generic tennis. But I played that, and that's how I learnt the rules of tennis. And that's what got me watching, and now I watch all the Grand Slams.
That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, thanks for video games.
Shout out to video games.
For
on Zed Games. Who else likes video games? I like video games. And Mario Tennis Aces is a great video game. And let me tell you, if you are looking for a competitive Switch game or a casual Switch game, something that you can play...
A little bit of both. Best
of both.
By Hannah Montana.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes. This is definitely a game that I can see myself playing a lot more of, and even getting to the point of, I really hope Nintendo does some sort of esports stuff with this game, because they have been with Splatoon, and I feel like this game is made to be at that level. Even so, to the point of encouraging players to keep playing online with monthly characters. So if you start playing... Every month there's a new season in the online play mode for this game. And if you play this month, you unlock Koopa Troopa as a player. And there's at least 3 more characters planned for each consecutive month going forward from here that you will unlock if you just jump online and play. So there's some really good longevity built into the game, and as far as the single-player campaign goes, this is definitely one of the meatiest Mario sports games out there that we've seen for quite some time. So I'm really enjoying that, and it's definitely keeping me coming back for more.
Nice. So Mario Tennis Aces out now on Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
At retail and digital.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Check it out.
There you go. Get that Nintendo Switch going, guys. It's good stuff. But that also brings us to the end of Zed Games for this week. It's heartbroken as I am to say it. I'm sure it's heartbreaking for you as well. See you soon.
Bye.
Shout out to video games.